It's where you go to bike, hike, and stroll miles of pathways over more than 7,000 acres of parkland. A place to go explore rivers and fish their bountiful waters. Natural places to go marvel at magnificent wildlife while you play outdoors and go wander charming communities. Find all this and more at Destination Downriver. Give it a go.
Today's podcast is presented by MarketInsights.us, with the podcast on YouTube produced by the City of Taylor's Media Center.
Thank you to our team sponsor, Allegra, Marketing, Print, and Design. Let Allegra assist you with your print, mail, design, and signs. Located in Wyandotte, Michigan, or call 734-284-5330.
Hi, I'm Karl Ziomek, and this is Destination Downriver. Today we'll be focusing on Elite Youth Baseball and the 43rd Annual Junior League Baseball World Series in Taylor. Opening ceremonies are set for Saturday, August the 2nd at Heritage Park before play begins the next day and runs through August the 10th. This week-long international tournament includes the best teams of the 13 and 14-year-old baseball players in the world and is the older brother of the famous Little League World Series held in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. With us today are Dan Bzura, director of the Junior League World Series, Mayor Tim Wooley of the City of Taylor, and former communications director and ambassador to all things Taylor, Dave Gorgon. Mr.
Karl.
Taylor, how are you?
Great to see you again.
It's great to see you two gentlemen. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having us.
Danny, we're going to start with you. Your father, Greg, was one of the founders of the Junior League World Series, was director for 4 decades. When he finally stepped aside, you took over. Running an international tournament of this magnitude, it's a huge responsibility. Can you tell us about it?
Sure. It's always tough to follow in someone's footsteps that was so successful at doing something for such an extended time period. But, I worked with him quite a few years. I learned a lot of what he did to make it successful. And really a big part of it was just making sure you have the team around you to cover everything that needs to be done to run a tournament of this magnitude. So I had a good teacher and really just tried to pick up where he left off.
When you talk, you're obviously talking about the volunteers who are constantly. How
Sure.
many volunteers do you guys have? And
Well over 100 each year, and we've got of course locals like us and people from throughout the district and downriver, but we got people that drive in from Indiana, that drive in from Ohio, that come up from North Carolina, people that maybe thought they would come check the tournament out and help us once, and they've been coming back ever since.
it hooks them, doesn't it?
They get hooked, they like the tournament, they like what we do for youth sports, and they really want to be a part of it year after year.
We're well into July. What do you worry about the most at this point? What are you working on now?
You just, you spend a whole year planning. It's almost like Christmas. And then when the season comes upon you, make sure you're covering all the bases. We're learning now about teams that are winning a regional or winning a country. So we start looking at travel arrangements. We start looking at, booking their hotel rooms and really starting the process of getting to know who's traveling and getting ready to welcome the world to Taylor. We want to make sure that whether you're coming in from Chinese Taipei or whether you're coming in from Ohio, that we put forth the best effort to make sure you have a great time when you're visiting Taylor, Michigan.
Dave, for the longest period of time, you yourself was a volunteer. Can you put some names and faces with what he's talking about?
The volunteers.
You can't say 'em. Yeah, you can't talk about them all, but
The volunteers that jump to my brain are the alumni umpires that come back. They want to be there. They help out behind the scenes throughout the week, and then come crossover games where they play teams that are out of the tournament against each other. A United States team against a foreign team. They umpire those games. They look forward to that like crazy. We've got people that go up and down the stands to sell 50-50 tickets. Huge job. And especially, we don't have the coldest temperature during August here in Taylor, and you see them putting in a lot of work and losing a lot of weight. The people that do the barbecue, where would we be without them? The souvenir stand is incredibly busy throughout the week. The media that comes, they're not the volunteers necessarily, but the ones on our side are. We have volunteer photographers. We have people in the score that do the scorebooks. They're all fantastic. Where would you be without any of them?
That's for sure. Yeah, it's all part of that.
Exactly.
They help build it. All of you go back pretty much to the origins of the tournament in some way or another. Tim, back then players were billeted with families. And you have some interesting stories to say about that. What was it like billeting people? I know they were on your block, and were they at your home or?
Yeah, so back in like when the tournament first started, they reached out to the neighbors, and a lot of us were all Little League families, and they reached out to the Little League families to house the kids. And my parents was one of those, and basically my entire neighborhood that played at Northwest Little League, we all housed kids, and most families had two. And we for many years, I think probably a good 10 to 12, maybe 15 years, we had kids as long as they were doing it. And we always enjoyed it. We look forward to it every year. And basically, many families in my neighborhood, we all had, and it was basically sorted by teams. So for some reason, a lot of times we always had the East Coast teams. So we were kind of out of the tournament a little early.
Hey now.
But we did have a West Coast team one year that went pretty far, so that was kind of exciting. So we never had really a winner of the tournament, but so no offense to the East Coast teams, but it seemed like the other teams did a little better. But
now, didn't just a couple years ago a reconnection come?
Yeah, so it was crazy. We were at I go every year. I look forward to it every year, and I saw this guy walking around, and I went to Dan and I said, who was that guy you were talking to? And he says, oh, it's a great story. He played here like 30 some years ago, and he brought his family back. And I'm like, Dan, I know that guy. And so he come walking over, and I said, where'd you play? And was it New Jersey? It was an East Coast team.
I think
Delaware?
I think it could have been.
Yeah, it might have been Delaware. I can't remember exactly. And I said, well, what's your name? He says, Barry. And I said, you might have stayed at our house. And he goes, I said, what family did you stay with? And he said, well, I remember it was a husband and wife, and they had 3 kids, and they had a son, a daughter, and then a younger son. And he goes, I think the dad's name was Randy. And I said, you stayed with the Burlesons? And he said, absolutely. And I go, do you remember the house that everybody kind of hung out at and watched the movies and stuff like that? And he goes, Betty's house. And I go, Betty was my mom. And he goes, you're Timmy? And I'm like, yeah, so it was crazy, and it was so cool, to have that flashback, from 30 some years ago, that he still remembered my mom's name, remembered me, and he was just going over many of the memories and stuff. So like all the families, but we had cable TV. I think it was 82, and we had just got it in that neighborhood. So like a lot of the kids would come hang out at our house. We had a big back room and watch movies, and my mom would make popcorn and everything and stuff. So it was a lot of fun.
I may be venturing into dangerous territory, but getting a bunch of 13 and 14-year-old kids together at night anywhere in the world can produce some interesting situations.
Everybody was pretty good. I mean, nothing, my mom was, she ran a tight ship. So if anybody got too out of hand, she would definitely, but I think I wasn't even 13 at that point. I think I was that had to have been 82 or 83, I think, when he played. So I was either 11 or 12. So I was younger at that point. And then Danny, who was Burleson, he was a year older, but we had quite a few people, and my parents were always pretty cool about that kind of stuff, and it was great. And actually, I think some of the kids that had issues with the family, so we ended up with more than 2 players at our house and stuff. So, but it was always great memories. I still have it, and my parents still got Christmas cards from some of the players over the years, from that we used to house and stuff.
That's neat.
Yeah.
That's neat. Dave, a ton of big name athletes have come through the Junior League World Series over the years. Gary Sheffield, Eric Bedard, Brent Myers, brothers Jose and Xavier Valentin, even Patrick Mahomes, the quarterback of the Kansas City Chiefs. Have a favorite?
Well, I got to meet the whole Mahomes family when they were here, and people think, no, he's not a baseball player, he's a football player. But like a lot of you guys, you played multiple sports when you were kids growing up, and excelled in all of them. And who knew that Mahomes was going to be the Super Bowl winning MVP quarterback for Kansas City? But now that'd be a cool get if we could get him to come back. Just I don't know how, but that would be kind of neat.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Just to wave at the crowd and say
Yeah.
hello. Yeah, that's pretty cool. And his dad was a pitcher. So.
Right, his dad was there, and nice guy, nice family. And the Sheffield was an interesting story too. He, he wound up going around and playing for the Tigers at the end, and we had a what do they call that bus barnstorming thing where the bus goes around all the different locations, and they came to the Sportsplex one time, and here he is, and he was on stage, and we showed him the team picture from his team, and they were all giving him junk about it, and it was pretty cool to see. He put the hat on, the World Series. I brought it just in case he'd wear it, snapped a photo of him, and that was pretty cool.
Did you keep the photo?
I have the photo. I always keep the photo.
There was a second guy that made the major leagues on that same team, wasn't there? Like, I think there was 2 pros that came off of that team.
I think I read that too, and I'm trying to remember the other one.
True.
I was going to say Delano DeShields or somebody like that.
I think
it may have been
Yes,
the
same
Shields.
team.
Yeah,
I think it was.
They were stacked that year.
There's a family I know that actually housed a kid that went on to play for the Pittsburgh Pirates too. I think
okay.
the Lashaways.
Okay.
You know what, Tim? You kind of got burned on that, because if you had hosted a team from Hawaii, I know a family that hosted Hawaii that ended up flying them out to Hawaii from Taylor.
Nice.
There you go.
Multiple times.
There you
That
go.
would've been
There you go. You missed that vote. Dave, favorite play? Got
Favorite play? Yes, everybody's favorite play, I think. There was a time when Pennsylvania was playing, and the other team hit the ball. It was at Chinese Taipei. So much for my favorite play.
I think it was.
And they hit the ball, and it was a blast.
Dead
And
center field.
a guy named Jack Regenier went up and dove over the fence, never touched the fence, caught the ball, held it up like this. And it was one of those games where we were broadcast by ESPN, which made it their play of the day, showed it repeatedly. And wasn't it one of their plays of the year, too, I believe?
I think it was.
They still show it to this day.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
And all the kids
Fabulous
all the kids are back at the hotel, and they're all watching it, gathered around the TV. And Jack he was a modest kid, but what was pretty cool is he came back the next year and paid us a visit, and the family was there, and he said, "Man, it kind of I don't know if it changed his life, but it made a real impact on his life. Brought him a lot of positive attention, and of course the World Series too."
I want to say they linked up with him. ESPN interviewed him that night from the hotel, too, because it was a national news story by that point.
Exactly.
It was cool.
And our photographer, right place, right time, got a great shot of it, and it made the front page of the Detroit News, I believe.
Wow.
A huge spread. And, again, that helps spread the word about the World Series.
Speaking of spreading the word, you've spread the word for a long period of time here about the World Series. What's it like doing PR for a global tournament like that? I mean, what's your week schedule like?
Well, it's more than a week, because you got to start way ahead of time, and we're actually starting now as the teams are winning the regional tournaments that Dan talked about. We are announcing that on our Facebook page. We must have 20,000, 30,000 followers of the World Series, and it'll grow substantially throughout the year. And so we want to let people know this team qualified. They spread the word to their fans back home. Then the next team qualifies, and pretty soon you got a lineup. And it helps tell when the games are. People can show up for opening ceremonies and see fireworks. We are having fireworks, right? Okay, it's on the air now. You're having it.
Confirmed.
And of course, as time goes on, that's the first step. And then you want to get the word out to the media. You start press releases the day before, a couple days before, letting the media know when they're happening, the games are. We always remind everybody who's been here in the past and how long Taylor's held the tournament, and how it started off with 13-year-olds, and now we have 13 and 14-year-olds. How we've expanded around the world incredibly. How the teams that come here. I mean, how long does it take to fly here from Australia? It's and they come, so it's really kind of cool. And you know what? Australia is really good shoppers. they say when they come here to Taylor, Southland, whatever, they get some really good deals, way more affordable than the stuff is way back in Australia. Yeah.
Never know what you're going to find.
Never know.
That's for sure. Media, always cooperative. What can you tell me?
Sometimes we get we'll get a hit. Say we get a hit from each TV station throughout the week. TV sports, and we're happy with that. We like it when we can get even more. Some of the best ones are the feature stories they do. There was a gal, was it last year or the year before, that TV came out and did a whole feature on her, and it was fantastic. Interviewed Dan, interviewed some other people too. Channel 2 did it. And, kudos to them, and played that over and over again. Played that on their evening news, played it on the morning news, and played it again. And then what you find out happening is the TV sports guys, when they find out who wins the games, they'll announce it on TV and they'll say tomorrow's games are boom. So that happens once in a while.
And all of that helps.
Not as often as we'd like. We'd still like more coverage, and we welcome anybody to come. The newspapers, the radio stations, radios come too. And of course we get teams bring their own broadcast teams and broadcast the games back to their hometowns and that. So,
which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's really neat.
ESPN does. We see some marketing pieces, some of their internal data, and there's World Series in other states, California and Easley, South Carolina, and what we've seen the last several years is that outside of Williamsport, so any regional tournaments, any of the other ancillary World Series events, Taylor by far gets the most looks and the most clicks, through ESPN and ESPN Plus and the streaming and digital aspects. So I think that kind of speaks to what we and our volunteer team have built, that people come here, win or lose, they have a good time, and even if they're not making the trip back to Taylor, somehow, some way, Taylor is getting more exposure through the ESPN family and networks and the rest of the World Series. I think it's because we show people a good time when they're here, and they want to take a look at it next year and the year after, and so on and so forth.
Over the past 6-7 years, having a host team qualify for this field on the USA side has really boosted attendance. Got to be happy about that, Dan.
It's been a huge benefit. We, Dave kind of mentioned the growth of the tournament, and we started with 4 teams and moved into 6 and 8 and 10. And back in, I believe it was 2018, we worked with Williamsport on what we refer to as a host team. And, honestly, initially, there was a little skepticism about the ability for a host team to compete at the world stage and to actually do well, but we thought it was great to give local kids an opportunity to participate, and then of course some more exposure, because Dave mentioned the media. We still think 40 some years later, starting in 1981, that we're downriver's best kept secret. So yeah, the crowd sizes have grown, local kids get an opportunity, and based on what Taylor has done the last couple of years, we were absolutely wrong that they couldn't compete on a world stage. We've been one of the best teams in the United States, one of the best teams in the world the last couple of years. We don't just show up. If you're from District 5, you show up and you compete and you win ball games. And
it's been shocking when you see the amount of people in Heritage Park when Taylor North is playing, okay? And they've made runs the past 2 years. Last year, when Rob Dotson's North team got into that USA bracket final against Tampa, that would have been a Saturday evening. You couldn't find a parking spot. People jammed against every fence in the park. That's got to be refreshing, and it really kind of started the year before, I think, really. Any negative feedback you get out of that?
No. I mean, anytime you've got large crowds, we might be challenged with parking and viewing and whatnot, but those are absolutely good problems to have. I think we've always brag and talk about welcoming the world to Taylor and people from all over the globe, but why can't people from downriver, why can't people from Taylor have a good time too, and to come on and root on the local kids, I think has been great. And quite frankly, if you're competing against that team, imagine if when we were 13 and 14-year-old kids, how much fun it would have been for us to compete in front of 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 people. That's something that these kids are going to remember the rest of their lives.
Back in 2021, Taylor North captured the Little League World Series in Williamsport, first Michigan team since since '59 when Hamtramck won. How much of an effect did that particular team have, and that title have, on the Junior League World Series and on, I guess, youth baseball citywide? What do you think, Tim?
Oh, I think it was huge. You know, I can remember I was up in the UP and I had a Taylor North shirt on, and people were stopping me, you know, and all my Army buddies around the country were supporting that team. You know, they realized that was my hometown, and but it's huge, and you see it still to this day. You know, the last couple of years they've been coming up to the park during the little, Junior League World Series, and those kids are still recognized, and the way they handle it is just incredible. I love to watch them because kids come up and ask them to sign their gloves and their baseballs and their hat, and it's incredible. And I think the Little League Taylor North has reaped volumes from that. I mean, their numbers are continuing to shoot up. Their T-ball, I think they had close to 20-some, 30-some teams this year, and it's been great. And I think that's continued to elevate their league. And you know, Taylor has always been a great Little League town, and you know, it's been awesome, and people still recognize that team. You still see those signs in people's windows around town, and you know, especially in the restaurants and everything, and it's just awesome to see.
Well, from a branding and marketing viewpoint, you know, you look at that particular team and what they were made of, you know, like you talked about. You run into one of those kids that you walk away going, kind of an impressive young guy. Okay, no matter who it was.
Yeah. Now they're as tall as us.
Oh yeah, tall, bigger. You know, the whole shot.
Little Gavin now looks me straight in the eyes. You know, and it's funny.
As mayor, it's got to be pretty cool to see a local Taylor team out of basically a league that you used to coach in make runs like that.
Absolutely, it's awesome. It's incredible. I mean, it makes me proud, but you know, just as the little kid in me that used to go there and watch those games, and you know, I look forward to the Junior League World Series. My dad's there in center field in his chair every year, you know, supporting that, and I know so many residents of this city that just go and enjoy it for the week, you know, and to be able to have local kids and teams there is just, it adds to that. And you know, I noticed that you know, Under the Radar was there last year and did that show about it and talked with Dan. I've had a lot of people come up to me, and you know, still to this day, like, wow, I didn't even know Taylor hosted that. And it's like, how do you not know that, you know? And so I think I'm expecting a little bit more crowd this year. So you know, it's just incredible, and it's something that we continue to promote. We're trying to get the state to, hey, you know, like these Pure Michigan commercials and all that stuff, like, hey, you know, this might be a cool thing to put on a commercial, because we have people from all over the world here in Taylor for almost a week and a half. It's a huge boom, not just for the economy of Taylor, but Southeast Michigan. They go down to Detroit, they go to the Tiger games, they go to Ann Arbor, they go all over the area here, and it's a huge economic boom, and we want the state to realize that as well.
Now, we're doing this on, what is it today, July 14th? And
I think so.
The qualifiers that have made the field have only come in the international bracket.
Correct.
Okay, Chinese Taipei will return, Brisbane, Australia, the Southwest Little League out of Germany, okay, to represent Europe, Africa, Rexville Little League out of Puerto Rico, the Anton Little League out of Panama. Anything jump out at you there? You were saying when we were off that Germany hasn't been here for a while.
Yeah, you know, we've had some repeat winners come out of the Europe-Africa region. Germany, I think, visited several times and participated, but Czech Republic was a common opponent. I think we had a little change up last year, but to see German coming back, it's going to be interesting. I'm going to assume that team is going to be very competitive. The Chinese Taipei team, a lot of their makeups are based on middle schools, and I noticed that it's a different school, so we're going to have I'm going to assume that team was pretty good if they knocked off the perennial champions.
You would think.
But anytime, whoever you get out of that Puerto Rico, Mexico region, and then the Latin American region, they're always good baseball. And I think that final was Dominican Republic and Panama, so probably very, very competitive region, and I think they're going to be a team to watch as well. And then, of course, all of your U.S. contingents, teams are getting better every year. I'm the director, so I'm not rooting for anyone in particular. It's nice to see the locals do well, but my job is to run the tournament and make sure all of our guests have a good time. So I'm looking forward to 7 days of fun baseball activities.
But I think you can see, like when Australia and Czech Republic first started coming over, they were 2-0, and now they're winning games. They're getting better.
Games,
they're winning games, and so you're seeing the competition getting better from teams that were just getting, ran over when they got here. So it's kind of cool to see that too.
Well, speaking of running over, we have Chinese Taipei has won the last three. Has won the last
you don't
three
like that kind of segue, Karl.
won 6 straight last decade, and overall has won 10 titles, which is twice as much as any of the other, the second place teams. I think there are 3 that are tied with 5. What makes that organization tick? Dave, let's start with you.
Well, they really come here as a good team. They have such good players, and they're very well schooled and coached. They make all the plays they should make. They have 10 kids on the team that can pitch, which is very important when you in the regionals and when you get here. And they just dominate. They have great coaching. In fact, the same people come back and coach every year, seemingly. And although let us remember that Taylor only lost 5-0 in the World Championship game last year. Am I correct on that?
And that game was close for a long period of time.
Competitive.
Yeah.
Very competitive. Yeah. And so we're not far off. And this might be the year.
You never know.
You never know. And
Danny, what do you
before
make
you go off,
you
guys mentioned about the state supporting us more. Now, this may not hurt or help this year, but Governor Granholm came to Taylor a bunch of years ago when she was governor and declared that we were the Little League capital of Michigan. Little League capital. We had parades. We had 4 leagues back then, or now, they're strong leagues. They always did well in the state. And now we have, we have the World Series, which we've had for 43 years. This will be the 43rd?
Yes, 43rd.
43rd.
Yes,
it would be
absolutely.
45 if we didn't have the 2 years off for the pandemic.
Sure. Yeah.
So I didn't mean to cut you off there.
No,
but
you're okay.
The support is there. Let's go back in time and make it happen, Michigan.
I agree.
Danny, go back to Chinese Taipei for a minute. What makes them tick?
Athletic, disciplined, well coached, and you do that consistently. Each game for an entire week, you end up being a tough team to beat.
Tim, what about you?
I think just to add to what they say, they're so, but they don't get rattled either. When they make a mistake, it's like, okay, and very rarely do they make a mistake, but they're good, but they're not so much better. They mistake-free baseball.
Right.
They're well-rounded, and they don't get rattled. But I think, like Dave pointed out, they have a lot of pitching on their team. And that can make or break you.
Well, I remember,
because if you start going through pitching, you're not going to last long.
if I'm not mistaken, it was Rob Dotson that I was talking to after the tournament last year, and we had enough time where he could digest what happened. And his bottom line was, we hadn't seen pitching like that. And that was a very good hitting Taylor team. They were raking in that tournament, but they hadn't seen anything like that kid in the finals. And he was very good, and so were the rest of them. They're all
for people watching at home and stuff, they don't they don't realize the pitch count and all the rules when it comes to Little League pitching. And that, coaching, as long as I did, you really have to think about that, and there's a lot of forethought into that, and once you start, at some point you have to say, okay, we're probably going to lose this game, so I got to save this pitcher, and stuff. It's tough. It's really, you got to think that stuff out.
There's no doubt about that. Anybody want to take a flyer on the winner?
No, but a couple.
I appreciate you being honest.
A couple of years, Chinese Taipei does not win them all. A couple of years ago, they got beat up by Puerto Rico.
That's right.
And Puerto Rico's back this year. 2 Latin America teams are here this year. So let's get the word out to our Latin America fans out there. You guys want to follow your teams.
And there's an American team that can come out. You never know.
Yeah.
And how did Puerto Rico win that game? On a walk-off suicide squeeze.
That's right.
It's amazing.
That's right.
Amazing.
Good memory. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's amazing. Did we miss anything? I know I'm going to fill in some of the holes here in a minute, but anything that we want to give to...
No, I think, you kind of touched on it. I mean, the history of the volunteers of this organization, from Mr. Bzura to Mr. Pizzo and everybody, it's just been cool for me as a little kid to watch it. I didn't even know Dan. I knew his dad, just from, us being a family of the Little League World Series. And just to watch everybody over the years just grow into that family. And they butt heads from time to time, but at the end of the day, they always run a great tournament, and just hopefully weather works with us. That's always the
That's always the wild card.
No
doubt
maybe we'll make it without rain this year.
We always get through it. The field looks great over there. They're still doing a little work around the bleachers and stuff, but we always try to make sure that's ready to roll. But as a whole, I think all the volunteers deserve all the kudos and stuff. And Dan and his team, they do a phenomenal job. And it's a year-round job.
Oh, yeah.
It is a year-round job.
No doubt. Well, that's about it for our show today. Remember, opening ceremonies for the Junior League World Series are on Saturday, August the 2nd at Heritage Park, beginning around 8 p.m. Admission to that is free. Heritage Park is located on the corner of Pardee and North Line Roads in Taylor, easily accessible from I-94, I-75, and Telegraph Roads. Play begins on August the 3rd and runs through August the 10th. Those first round games include on Sunday, the first game between Michigan District 5, that champion, versus the USA Southwest champion at 11 a.m. Europe Africa takes on Puerto Rico at 2 p.m. USA West versus USA Central at 5 p.m. and Asia Pacific versus Latin America at 8 p.m. Monday on August the 4th, Australia, which drew a bye, will face the winner of I believe it's the Europe Puerto Rico game. That game, Australia game, will take place at 11 o'clock. That'll be followed by the U.S. Southeast versus the winner of game 1 at 2. Canada will take the field at 5 p.m. against the winner of game 4, and the USA East, which drew a bye, versus the winner of game 3 at 8 p.m. Admission to the tournament is $5 a carload of people per day, or $15 for a week's pass. Tickets are sold upon entry to Heritage Park. Fees include parking and game admission. For up-to-date results, click on the Junior League World Series website through the cityoftaylor.com/World Series. Follow the Junior League World Series on Facebook and Instagram. Thanks to my friends Dan Bzura, Tim Wooley, and Dave Gorgon for joining us today. Also thanks to Kaylee Guffey, Joe Camilleri, and Rich Williams behind the scenes. We'll see you at the ballpark and then on the next episode of Destination Downriver.
Thank you to our team sponsor, Allegra, Marketing, Print, and Design.
With a special thanks to our production partners here at the new Taylor Media Center. Thanks for listening and watching. Please visit our website, destinationdownriver.com, or our Facebook page, and be sure to join us for next month's podcast.